cinema, and not only cinema, of course, but nobody reacts. It's about theater that we are talking tonight. Friends of the theater, friends of international theater, friends of creative theater, international theater, documentary theater. I'm so glad that we have a very special guest here tonight, Mr. Daniel Wetzel, co-founder of Rimini Protokoll and one of the most famous theater directors in Germany for more than 20 or even 30 years. You know better than me. And I think some of you sitting here already met him today or yesterday or 2 days before, because he is at the moment doing some research in Cyprus and for a new project here, and he will tell us more. And I'm so very glad that Daniel followed the invitation of the Cyprus International Theatre Festival, Alexander Weinstein, who had the idea to invite him to come, and also, of course, the idea to make a new production in Cyprus. And yeah, so we were only too happy to collaborate, to give the space to tonight's event, and maybe see how we can support the theatre project in the future. Maria, who is also from the Cyprus International Theatre Festival. We know her very well from a theatre project we were organizing here at the Goethe Institute, not only in Cyprus, but also in the region, in East Asia, Southeast. Maria and Alexander will moderate tonight's talk with Daniel, and of course we will see many examples of Daniel Wetzel's work. I'm very curious. I just asked him what about the title of a theatre production, which I saw, I think, 15 years ago. Is that? I saw that in Berlin, and it was called Leiberg, Sweetheart Number 19.
Yeah.
Similar like that. And it was a theatre evening dedicated to the heart. And it was fantastic for me, this theatre experience. I still remember it very well. And I think there are many more people all over the world, not only in Germany, of course, but all over the world, who are still remembering your very famous productions. And thanks again for coming. We will record this talk, so everybody who will talk, please use the microphone. There is also a recording going on so that we can share it with many more people afterwards. So I hand over to whom now? Alexander.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Natalie and Gabriel. Thank you for hosting such an important event for us. And first time I came to Goethe Institute, instantly I don't know what kind of antidepressants you use, but the amount of smiles here is like uncomparable to anything you see elsewhere. So thank you for granting this amazing mood. Yeah, my name is Alexander, to whom Maria is acquainted, and I'm a founder and the head of a slightly new theater organization in Cyprus called International Theatre Festival. I've been doing theater for almost all my life. I was born in St. Petersburg, in Russia. And, you know, it's a place where culture is an important thing. And I remember it was maybe 2012. I was studying at that moment in Markle Center, which is like a very progressive institution for contemporary theater. And we were exploring different types of theater at that moment. And remember very clearly how at some point Maria Iole, who is a great theater critic and a curator of theater magazine in Russia, mentioned Rimini Protokoll. And that was like, she obviously knew you were like from works from different festivals and so on. But to me, it was like something really about how do we look at theater from another point of view. For many years, I was struggling with theater in the black box, sitting and watching something on stage, and without understanding that, with this feeling that I'm kind of, stuck in a way. And when I heard what you guys doing and how do you approach the notion of theater, how do you revise it, it was truly a moment of changing perspective for me as a theater maker and a theater doer. And then we've collaborated with Rimini Protokoll in 2016. I had a chance to produce your work remote in Helsinki, and it's like 50 people walking through the streets of the city, dwelling into the like we started with the cemetery, and then we would go to the shopping mall. So something which you will never call a theater. And this approach I really like in your company. And when I moved to Cyprus and set up a festival, it was just a matter of time on when we will, collaborate again. I'm super happy to have you here, Daniel. You came on Tuesday, but today's Friday, and already I feel you like my friend, like a part of my family. And thank you for like this this courage, this I would say great love towards people. Because what I see you doing is, I think, every single theater maker should do. Talk to people, be open, receive and give. Thank you so much. And then giving a word to Maria, who will be mainly moderating. I will be just making some comments maybe and asking some more like producers' questions. Maria, she was again, she's amazing. When I met her and the way how she worked with material, with just ideas is unbelievable. She organized Daniel's meetings all over his way for 3 days. We had full of meetings and very good schedule. Thank you for this, and give your word. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. I'm very, very happy to be in such great company. Thank you, Alex, for your kind words. It is an honor and joy to be with Daniel Wetzel, who I had the chance to meet more closely during these last 3 days, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you. So I don't know, do we need a microphone? Should I try to?
Yes.
No? Yeah.
Should I be louder?
Yeah?
Louder.
Okay, you can hear me now. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about Daniel's work, and then at the end, I think we're going to have time for some questions from the audience. Daniel, I'm going to take you to the very, very beginning. You formed a company called Rimini Protokoll in 2000 with 2 other people, Helgard Haug and Stefan Kaegi. I believe you studied with them at the University of Giessen. You studied applied theater, and as you told me, it wasn't a thing at the time. Yes. and you formed this company, which is not really a company, it's an artistic collective, I guess. And I was wondering what made you take this decision, and I was also wondering, because I was reading some of your views at the time, and you said that theatre was an old-fashioned medium, and especially theatre venues were built for a very specific kind of spectacle. How those views on theatre influenced your decision?
Yeah, thank you. To start with, I thought when I went to school, I thought I would become a very talented and perhaps even well-known actor. I did parts like Tiresias in Antigone. I always played not the beautiful guy, more like the drunk or so, or the crazy king, but I really found I was great. And then at some point, on a stroll that I took, I decided, but do you really want to live like that? Also, I started to work with a friend and co-directing stuff with friends. Do you really want to ask yourself all your life if you were good? And reading the faces of people, if that was great, and so on. And what's great then? Is that a life where you always kind of fish for that compliment and you want to touch people by what you do? And it was then a chance that we were experimenting, and to make it short, on the other end of these reflections, I realized that there's theatre as a craft, and also as a very impressive medium for incredibly strong texts that have partly survived centuries and millenniums and so on. So this is fantastic on the one hand, but there's another thing that I think it came rather even up, that theatre also, or we discovered for ourselves, theatre is also a laboratory. And in that laboratory, the way signs are used and signification is produced can be done in many ways. So let's get more to the core of what is theatre. And let's perhaps abandon a bit these texts, because as soon as you have these texts, then I really tried also with Strasberg and Stanislavski and Grotowski and all of the methods and stuff, and at some point I also found it rather boring. Also, before you did something interesting, you always have to do these breathing exercises for at least an hour, and rubbing each other and all of that, and lying around and listening and all. And then, you know, I found that boring and also even annoying, because it aimed at an authenticity that was the authenticity of the body. Me being authentic with my breath and my voice and so on. And then this was on the other end of, let's say, a rather 12 years long journey. We understood also we are also not interesting performers when we do performance stuff instead of acting. Who wants to see that? And we realized that even more interesting is if you take this laboratory with all the structure that theatre has, because a theatre, even when it's empty, shows. Like a computer, I can do many things. The theatre shows I can be anything. I can do many things. I can mean so many things. I can have so many different landscapes. So many words have been said here. And we all know that. When we go to school, we start playing theatre, and since then it's in our minds, and that connects us with those people who 3,000 years ago started reciting stuff. And, or 2000, and also there's a link with the society, the way we like it, and performing texts playing roles. There's a very, very, very deep link between democracy and theatre. However, that means I shouldn't play, and perhaps I should also direct. Perhaps there's other stuff that can be done. So now there's a screen table. But before, you saw a lot of pictures from productions that I didn't have to do with, because they are from this label Rimini Protokoll that we founded, because we started also in a position to the directors that were also in that Giessen laboratory where I studied writing their texts and directing them, and you were casted and you could perform there and so on. It was also against this author-director thing, and it was about let's work flat hierarchy, let's develop projects. A couple of groups have been founded about the same year, which there's Gob Squad are still kicking, Shishi Pop is another one, but that time there was also very, very important the Michael Jackson cover band, the Battery Congress, they're now called Showcase Beatle. So there's all kinds of groups that they try to be kind of different. We were all also DJing and partying and really saying this is same level and it has to be out with this old stuff.
So in a sense you defy the idea of authority either in terms of the author or the text, yes?
Yeah.
Or the director?
Also,
yes. And I believe there's a very interesting story, since we were talking about how this collective was formed. There's a very interesting story regarding how it got its name, which involves a city in northern Italy and 3 vowels. Can you elaborate on that?
the very short one.
The very short
The
one.
long one is about half an hour. The short one is 2 minutes. But, okay, Protocol. We are not a group. We are not a theatre. We're not an ensemble. But we are making theatre, not even together, because like this one was done by Stefan. This was what you did also in Finland. This one was done by me together, written together with 2 Greek authors. This was again by Stefan, but based on a thing that the 3 of us developed, and so forth. This by Stefan and his partner. We did the 3 of us. I'm not telling you about all these productions, but this is just what's just on at the moment, playing the next 2 weeks. And you can tell no single artist can make something like that, so many things. But you can kind of join forces in terms of create a platform where I also have to stand for what the others are doing, and I do that with pleasure. Partly I don't like the stuff, but this is like we are, you know, we share, collaborate, and join forces. So I'm here also in the name of the 2 others, because if we did that project that we will tell you about, then they might be involved as well, and we invented it, the 3 of us. So the 3 vowels, we are 3 people, but as we are not a group and all of that, we thought, yeah, okay, let's name ourselves perhaps after a text. So Protocol is a text form that both refers to what has just happened and just the most interesting part, like the decisions, the keywords, not the narration, the protocol. We said this, we said that, we said this. But the protocol is also what prescribes, that looks into the future, as in when the president comes, he should stand there and the other president there, and then we will make 5 steps, and then they will shake hands. It's all prescripted, so it's sort of the drama of international communication when people embody countries, because it's not the president that smiles, it's the country that smiles. Protocol is also the code inside a computer that is sort of behind of everything that we just use. So it's a word that describes text with multiple applications and meanings. And it has 3 O's. And then we thought, yeah, okay, protocol is also very important. So Kyoto was a very important step. And then we checked, and then Rimini was still available at that time. And Rimini has 3 I's, and Protokol is 3 O's, and so there comes also the, let's say, aesthetic point, and whatever you do, it should also be a bit of fun and nice. Because we are in the entertainment, okay, the funded entertainment business, so to speak. We're not.
You know, many times what I see in theater, that like the role of theater director is like so important. And people want to be this kind of solo of like authoritian, you know, somebody who decides for everyone what to do. Have you faced ever, you know, between 3 of you, this kind of difficulties on like who decides on what? Because it's quite a difficult thing to honestly do.
It's a mess. It's we had so many debates throughout the 25 years that we're working together. In the beginning, we also staged plays, the 3 of us. Like we decided, the 3 of us, what should happen there. We don't do this since 10 years or so. We decided we have to find other forms, not because now maybe we could do it better, but it's everybody has ideas and everybody has the layouts how it could be, and it's really tiring to try to convince the others, because they also have ideas, and then it's kind of like a Darwinistic who speaks longer, or I don't know, and so there might be other forms that you can invent. And then yeah, do it yourself, you know. If you want to stage something, go. But if there's something else, if we can do it together, let's do that. So it's more of, okay, how can we work together? And yes, apparently the theatre, not necessarily, like the groups that I mentioned, Chichi Pop, Showcase and so on, they work and they perform themselves on stage, mostly. By Chichi Pop, there was a fantastic piece where they had their fathers on. It's originally a woman's collective, now it's been gender mixed, but their fathers on stage. It was based on King Lear. It was about, what do you think? Will I return home and clean your ass when you can't walk anymore? Well, what's your expectation? What's your concept for getting old? And where is the heritage that I was promised? So, and their fathers were on stage and had to answer it. Normally, they perform themselves, so there's always somebody down and directs it, and they go up, and it's a collective method. Like it exists also in many groups since the 60s, I guess. And who knows how they made theatre in the 16th century. Clearly not with a director. They were playing, yeah, I don't know much about it. So I grew up with a director who was constantly shouting at us. He knew the best, and this is also for the generation that now goes into pension, hopefully the last generation that acts like this. Predominantly men, predominantly, yeah, the most clever and very often also the best actors, that they stand on the edge of the stage and act around and show these great artists on stage how they should do this. Really frustrating. And so all of this we wanted not to do. And then there was another story that I shared with you when we once performed ourselves, Helgard, our at that time third colleague Marcus and I, we did some multimedia thing about Kafka and so on, no words, just fog and writing and video, 1996, 4. And there was also candles. I was doing the sound in that piece, and so I would switch out candles by, I made a record, vinyl, and it had like only bass. It was like, there were these candles in front of the speaker. And the air pressure, not the bass, the air pressure actually would switch off the candles. That was the action, it took quite long. I mean, it was slow, nice and slow, off. And then Marcus and Helgard would go and lit the candles, and of course, insisting is a key thing in the performance. We did it 3 times, so that you think about on and off. However, in that theatre, there were firefighters needed because it was a public theatre, and so where there's fire, there must be fighters. So these guys, you cannot contact them before because otherwise you could, you know, they could be biased. So it's random people who come, and they came with a helmet, with axe, in uniform, because of the 3 candles, 6 candles. That was very dramatic. And so we thought, and we asked, would it be possible that one candle thing is here, one is there? And they say, yeah, one of us is here, one of us is there, behind the stage. And we said, okay, you will have to, can you put your chairs just a bit more in so that we can see you? You know, yeah, okay, why not? Okay, you could just sit next to candles, yeah, fine. So they were sitting next to fire. And then it was like, okay, we are there, they're the candles, you are there, we have to go from here to there, put light on the candles. How can this be done better? Is that, could you maybe put light on the candles? Yeah. They looked at each other, yes. And so we did our interesting multimedia performance about Kafka, and all the audience was constantly just looking at these firefighters, trying to fix what is this and who are they? It was a student festival, so they were the eldest in the space also. They were my age. So, and then came that thing that was by the closing of the performance, and so I switched off the light, and they were observing the light, and the audience burst from laughter, and they put on the fire, and put the candles on. It was a fantastic scene, and we learned that they really were the more interesting performers, although they didn't do anything with Kafka and so on. They were just sitting by the candles. There were also no talents. They were in their role. And what they were doing, they didn't have to rehearse it. They just took matches and put them on. There was also, they were not nervous because they were in their role. And so there was something much stronger then everything that we make with all our Kafka stuff and so on, they created a meaning without even working. They were just there, who they are. And then they went off stage, put off their on uniforms, and you wouldn't recognize them anymore. So that was the birth moment of what we then followed up for like 30 years so far.
That's an amazing story. It actually brings me to the next question I was intending to ask, because you don't usually work with actors, but with what you call experts of everyday life. So that's precisely...
These were the first two experts.
That's precisely what you mean. And why is this important for you?
Because it completely, entirely changes that, let's say, the operational system, the OS of theater. Because the firefighters didn't do anything that would mean something else than what they are there for. And in this micro scene, okay, fire and fighters, it's sort of close, and it just happened, it was a chance. But they just did something. So, as opposed to theater as performance art, but that's also strange feel, look, all those biographies and all these things that is also nice, but that's also not us. But when a firefighter says, I put on light on the candle, if they have that sentence, then he means himself, like Abramovich in performance would mean herself, and would put on the candle, and that creates a meaning. If I would now rehearse with an actress to say the sentence, I put light on the candle, then she would say, yeah, but how do I do that? Do I like the candle? How about my childhood? I'm joking. Actors are great artists, but there is the question, how do I play it, why do I play it, what's the reason, but what does it mean, and so on. And that is all gone when you just have the action. Yeah, so experts, so these firefighters are firefighters because they took the decision to do this in their free time and so on, or professionally, and so they have a history, they have a story, and you would actually also like to ask, why are you doing this? I would never. So they are also experts for what they do, and so to make sure they sort of rehearsed all their life for that moment. Right? And that's what they then do, and that's the only time that they are on stage. And then they continue living, because they didn't want to become actors, they just made sure that no fire is set. And so theater, in that sense, is a platform for people who present who they are in the best light that they like. Like, we are not putting them in a bad light. They come in their uniform with their helmet, and every expert sort of comes with their uniform, their helmet, and their axe. We solidify them in the rehearsal process so that they can present themselves the way they like themselves also, and do what they would do anyway, even if there was no kino, no audience.
May I ask you then, so in most of your productions, there are no actors. Is there any need of actors in your professional life? And do you use them for something ever?
Yeah, the point is, when you think to use them, then you have to go back and think twice. So I think there would be potentially always, there could be great works that give space to the art of actors. And but I have never learned that. So there's also, we are also discussing in Constance for another project which is actually based on actors, but then that would be, okay, we did some experiments, of course we tried out, and I must say, yeah, it's another game. Also partly when you speak with me, I speak a lot with actors, when you speak with them, what they need is not what I can give. Not as a personality per se, and in one production, this Bubble Jam, there are actors involved because they kind of facilitate. And when they do what they need to do so that they can do what they have to do, I say, okay, do it, but make it, as low as you can with your voice and don't spit, It's like, just be human,
Don't shout.
Don't shout. Yeah, but I have to make them a bit afraid so that they follow my orders. It's about 60 kids that they get phones on their wrist, and it's a questionnaire that they answer on phones.
Excuse me. I wanted to ask, you mentioned so many groups for those times in your surroundings. What made your group be so successful?
We were, I don't know, I mean, CITF Open and Gobsquad are also very successful, at least in some same scene, actually. Gobsquad are an incredible team that tours worldwide with incredibly funny and touching performances. CITF Pop are a bit more limited also in their possibilities to travel. Some people like me also have children, so we don't travel that much and so on. We were considered and named in the most important feuilleton newspaper of FAZ, the cancer of the theater scene. That's how we started, yeah. The cancer geschwür, because in the beginning it was said that we cannot write reviews on that thing because this is like putting animals and children on stage. It's not fair, you know. This is not, they are not acting. So what should I write? This is performance crap and so on. That's 90s. Unless you're a famous like Jan Fabre and you work with dancers and so on. So I don't know. We had I think the fortune, really a lot of fortune and luck, and also we are in Germany, which is compared to actually, I suppose every other country in the world, including France, the best place so far in terms of funding. So that has a tradition since the 60s, 70s, actually, where it was all about this stuff is kind of the glue of society. It's important for intercultural and all intergenerational communication, and it's education, it's part of education. So we fund this. Also libraries, it's important, culture is important. After what the Germans have done, it's the only way out to really. Now there's kind of a backlash coming into force, but so we were really lucky to be German also, I must say. So we could really apply for. We so often got carte blanche suggestions. So you said that a theater council says, do something. How much is that? And then you come and say, okay, look, we will do this. Okay, you do this, okay. You know, this is unthinkable in most places of the world. So it's not so much, also, we were, I think, very lucky to have the chance to do these things. More lucky than genius.
Okay. In terms of your work and how your work was labeled, it was labeled under different names. It was called under social interventions, performative installations, realistic theatre, post-traumatic theatre, documentary theatre. So how do you react to this, all this genre terminology, and how would you define the work you do with Rimini Protokoll?
I mean, we were always trying, as you perhaps also can tell from the photos, trying to do different stuff and try out new forms. And that means also to counteract definitions. And I think a piece is always strong when you cannot really describe it with two headlines, and when there are paradox things even inside, like contradictions. It is this, but also that. It tries this, but is also that. It's not done. It's not the perfect form in the end. It's like trying something. That's a laboratory. And I think if there's something really in most of the works, then it is thinking from the spectator's side. There's artists who do things that you really have to talk a lot about in order to get a bit of a clue out why that happened, and you just admire what is there, but you cannot really tell. And I think what most of the works, if not all of the works, have in common, that we want the people to understand what it's trying to say. Not in terms of message, but in terms of I have to share something with you, which Giessen was absolutely no-go. I mean, it was also our generation, as opposed to the directors that were there before and so on, to say this is not about art. I will never speak about this as art. That other people could do or not, it's not the point. Art is maximum argument in order to protect something, but you need another explanation why something has to happen instead of just art.
I'm going to come back to the ideas in a while, but I will ask you something else first. What inspires you or your collective as artists? What drives you? what motivates you, or what annoys you. And if you could please walk us through the steps you take when you decide to develop a project, maybe elaborating on the use of technology in your work as well.
Would you mind if we start also including the present time, and I could use what we did the last 2 days as an example, to answer something. That's less technology, let's aside WhatsApp and airplanes, but Alexander asked, can you come and could you do something to make it short? That was in springtime. Trying to find out, okay, can it be combined with something? There was this idea which we'll tell you about, maybe also make an experiment together. And at some point last week I said, okay, I come. Goethe Institute made it possible. Last minute, okay, let him come. Made the invitation also, so I was a bit hesitative to, just come sort of with empty hands. But yeah, then I said, let's find out if this idea is feasible at all. So I think a very important thing is stop reading, go asking. Like I could have sat also at home in Berlin and make my work through books and internet and watch films and so on. It doesn't replace, like 6 hours of reading are very good, but 1 hour of talking is something else and actually can bring you really a step further. Yeah, so I came and we spent 2.5 days now talking to all kinds of people, to a couple of 5, 6, 7, 8 people with whom you have arranged to speak, and every conversation added to the theme totally new aspects. It's confusing, things don't fit together. Today I had a conversation with 2 people, one after another, where I heard really opposing things about the same issue, and as you do these conversations, you're also reflecting what's going on, and suddenly some things become a bit more clear, and some first steps, and it should be this way, not that way, come into sight. Then you start testing them by suggesting to others, would that make sense? How would that feel for you? Not, I have the feeling it has to be done and now I need the money for it, but what would it be if it happened like that for you? Because I make it for and with people, not for myself. So it's also more maybe facilitating or directing as facilitating instead of directing as originating. Was that an answer?
I think maybe this is a very good time to say what we are actually trying to build together. Yeah?
I can ask
one
more question, and then and then we can talk about the project. Because
sorry, I'm just going to use the microphone. Because you mentioned the audience before, and I was wondering, what is the contract with the audience? Are they participants? Are they observers, voyeurs? And because I was actually watching a clip from a show of yours, Situation Rooms, and the people who were talking before going to see the show, and someone said, I'm really looking forward to be part of a play, which was extraordinary. And then a woman said, I asked myself, do I want to see it? So, very conflicting views, by the way. So, what is really the contract with the audience in your work?
You are audience at the moment. I hope you're with us. Yesterday I was audience. It was a theatre piece, so naturally I was sleeping also a little bit. That's part of it. It was a 1.5 hours piece, so there must be a little nap included so that you have the energy again to be there. And that's what I want to say. It is energy. So you are there, and you are a producer. That was actually our starting point, why we thought all this theatres stuff, Shakespeare on stage, Robert Wilson stage as a woman, as King Lear, la la la, it's all nice, but my energy is gone, I'm falling asleep. So the question is, when does it energize you? Because that's why you're there, because you're a producer. And when you then ask, what have you seen? Well, yesterday I didn't understand the word, it was Russian. So I saw a completely different show than Sasha, who understands Russian. He could say the text was a bit so and so. I said, I heard a wonderful language, but he could have told the Bible or speeches by Stalin. I would not have made a difference. So I produced something else in you, and I have it with me now. And I will live on, and this is a bit the weak point of theatre, you don't know where it goes. Only if I ask you in 3 weeks what it was all gone. Or it has kind of become something else. So it's very much about presence. Now we see it, and now we're producing it. And perhaps one of the key things in most of the theatre productions is people are at the same space, not necessarily. Or you can redefine space. We did really very touching theatre over the phone, where like the performer is in a call center in India, and you walk with a mobile phone through the city. So it's different time zones and so on, and you also ask yourself at some point, who's the performer now, who's the audience? Because the people in India, they had questions for you, and you were answering. So you were explaining to the person in India, if you ever have fallen in love over the phone, so who's performing now? So as soon as you kind of crack up this, this structure, which I would also like to do today, but you will see, then it's changing.
Yeah.
And then some things can happen. Let's call it sparks of the moment. About these you can tell later on. This is what you will tell when they ask what was the show. I experienced this and that. What is it in Greek when I make an experience? Ebero. Gano ebilia. Beyond. But that's so beautiful in Greek, it's really always producing. I produced, even be now, I make thirst in a way, It's an action. Not I am thirsty, I'm thirsty. Yeah? And so that's, so from a Greek point of view on the theatre, it's you are active anyway, if you sit there. The leg ball is an action. And yeah. And so, with that in mind, you can really play all kinds of roles. A very early experiment we did was, we went to the court, the real one. So it was a piece that was early morning. We met at 8:30 in the morning. You have to pass the police control, you have to leave your thing, and then you go to this big, beautiful courtroom building with, like, I would say, 50 different rooms. Everywhere judges are working. Some with murder cases, some with, most of them evasion, like taking the metro without a ticket. If you do that 3 times in Germany, you get caught 3 times and considered a criminal for strange reasons. It's a Nazi, it's a law that the Nazis put in post. Anyway, so, and we went there, 3 groups, Helgard one group, me one group, Stefan one group, and we saw the menu, like what's on. Where's murder, where's tax evasion, and then you can enter. It's public. Since Napoleon, you can go there and you can open the door and say hi and sit down. And then, of course, the judges, they ask what's going on, because it's just, nobody. It's maybe the mother of the accused or the sister, and maybe a lawyer, but who has a lawyer? And then, yeah, and then they sit, and then they are deceased. Okay, who are you? Are you a seminar or so? They say, no, we're a theatre audience. Yeah. And then they say, yeah, but you are not supposed to watch. You can only listen. You listen to the law. You don't watch. We don't judge what I see. I will only listen, take notes, and then I will make a decision. How you look doesn't matter. And so you can listen. Okay, we listened. And then some members of the audience said, I have to go. I can't do this. I hate it. This is the worst show I ever experienced. Because I cannot say, if I influence the decision that has been made, will be made about this person, because I'm here. Maybe the judge will be more strict because I'm here. And it's not like, okay, you're the 3rd case like that, you go out of my sight. He will show it, he's really strict. And I'm responsible because I watch and listen. So the audience produces also even towards the other side of the stage. So then you can also say, okay, you take that all these games that we then play, running through the streets and and there are some pieces where the audience even performs and there's nobody there. It's called the Conference of the Absent, where we wrote texts with people that exist, and these are monologues or dialogues, and then there's the audience, there's the stage, and there's an electronic voice that explains to the audience nobody's going to come. They're too far away. They live in Siberia, they live in Greece, they live in Israel. You have to do the texts if you want to hear what they say. And then people volunteer, go on stage, put on a headphone and repeat what they hear, or open an envelope and read, and then there's sound and video and timing, and it's really like a show. Only it's played by the audience.
So you already mentioned a show, like you did so many productions. If we were to dwell on everything you did, we would be here for like the next week. So maybe it would be a good idea to focus on one project, a project that you made in 2008, yes, called Berlin 100%. Yes. So the idea behind this project is that you bring 100 people on stage, and they sort of represent the societal fabric or the demographic mosaic more precisely. And in this way, you create a powerful portrayal of urban identity. So can you talk, maybe give us more information or elaborate on what this work was about and what was the process and what was the idea behind it?
The idea is, after we didn't show that now, there were not so many pictures about that, but there are many pieces with these experts on stage. And they really focus on their biographies, and it's all about who, and also bringing together people who would otherwise never meet. And we work on texts with them, and so on. So following that research that I told you about in the court, there was a performance where we worked with experts that we met in the court. There was a lawyer, there was a woman who goes with witnesses into the rape cases that they had to be witnesses again, so to support them. There were all kinds of people who would tell things then about the justice system. But what if, and then it's about these individual people, but what if there was a body that would incorporate or represent us as the city? And so maybe in a way it's one body with 100 heads. It's and so this started from statistics, because statistics always say apo ekato, so from 100, so many think this, do that, so many forget to brush their teeth in the morning, da, 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 and that is always political, because it then says the others do, but it's always numbers, it's never people. You never, from no single statistics you ever saw who are they, and where are they in the other statistic? Are those who forgot to brush their teeth also those who drive the car? I don't know. I just know, okay, it's 25% who drive more people drive the car and then forget to brush their teeth. Interesting. But who of them are in the same portion? So that sort of calls for a stage where you see the people behind the numbers. So we asked in Berlin, the Office of Statistics, is it feasible? Could we have 100 people? And what should we have to do? What do we have to do if we want these 100 people to be entitled to say, Είμαστε πόλη, we are the city. We represent the city. And then they said, yeah, you use 5 criteria, we'll give them to you and the numbers, and then you just do like what we do for the census. For the census, it's even less. For the census, they just go with the computer finger on a map, and then the census person goes to that address and rings any of the bells. Bam. And that bell, the first person that unfortunately answers will go like, oh shit. Because they then tell them, yeah, you have to answer questions for 3 years now, because you answered. It's random. And so we are even more precise also, because we ask less people than the census. So that's the idea. Representation is the key code in traditional theater. I am not Hamlet, I represent. So with our other operational systems where where I means myself and not a dead person or an invented character, we have to apply some political scientific method, so to replace the acting. So that means we use 5 criteria, and by this, throughout the process of 3 months, we find 100 people that exactly meet the statistic numbers in terms of age groups, where they live, in what district of the city, what sex they are registered with, as a male or female, and ethnicity / nationality, and in what composition they live. Do they live alone? Do they live with more people? Do they live with children without? And so on. And then these 100 people are on stage, and we script with them based on also what we know about them, because they're all interviewed and so on. Then a script that is sort of the portrait of the city, including questions that might be vibrant and important in the city, and okay for everyone. That's very important to add. If you want, I would just show like 4. We did that in Berlin, and we said, okay, that's it. Let's do the next project. Then came somebody and said, hey, you have to do that in Egypt, in Tahrir Square, in Cairo. There's something cooking up. 2008, 2 years before the spring. No, we did that. But on the long run, then we were invited by Theodoros Theodosopoulos to do something about Prometheus. He was doing Prometheani at the festival in Athens. And so there was the next step to say, okay, let's use this thing that we did in Berlin and find out what if we kind of let this collide with the question what dramas are good for. Could a drama like the Prometheus Mnemotis, could that be a blueprint for what questions to ask? Okay, yeah, the answer is yes. So we made a casting where we would go through Athens and not only find 100 people who represent the population, but also people who would say, yes, taftizo με τον Prometheus. I identify with Prometheus, or with who else? I identify with Io, or I identify with Hephaestus, because in my job I do this and that. Happened, and when you entered, I also already let that video run, because at the beginning of the show, 100 people say who they are and why they identify with who. I would just show you 5, 6 so that you get an impression.
Με λένε Λιλιάννα, μένω σε Πόλια και ταυτίζομαι με τον Προμηθέα.
Γεια σας από μένα, είμαι ο Παναγιώτης, είμαι φοιτητής ηλεκτρονικός, μένω στο Γαλάτσι από τότε που γεννήθηκα και αν το έργο έχει γραφτεί για μένα θα ήμουν ο Θεός Ωκεανός, γιατί είμαι πολύ καλός μεσολαβητής και διπλωμάτης.
Το όνομά μου είναι Απόστολος Γιαννόπουλος. Είμαι δημόσιος υπάλληλος. Είμαι ηθοποιός στο θέατρο Κοφών Ελλάδος. Ταυτίζομαι τον Προμηθέα, γιατί ο Προμηθέας πήρε από τον Δία τη φωτιά με στόχο τον πολιτισμό, αυτόν που έχουμε μέχρι τώρα. Όπως και εγώ, παίζω στο θέατρο για να δώσω πολιτισμό σε εσάς.
Καλησπέρα σας. Ονομάζομαι Σώματος Κωνσταντίνος. Είμαι αιώνιος φοιτητής να πτήσει στο Εργάλειο, αλλά για τις επόμενες 2 ώρες θα είμαι ηθοποιός στο Ηρώδειο. Μένω στην Πετρούπολη και ταυτίζομαι τον Προμηθέα.
Καλησπέρα, με λένε Κατερίνα Μανιδάκη. Δουλεύω σε ένα φούρνο στην Ερατιώτισσα και μένω Κυψέλη. Ταυτίζομαι με τον Προμηθέα γιατί έχει στόχο, επιμένει, δεν παρετείται και στο τέλος βγαίνει νικητής, όπως και εγώ. Ευχαριστώ.
Με λέγω Μαρία, είμαι μαθήτρια γυμνασίου, μένω στο Καματερό και ταυτίζομαι με την Ιόλη.
Καλησπέρα σας. Λέγομαι Βασιλιάδης Χρήστος. Ήμουν εργολάβος οικοδομών. Ταυτίζομαι με τον Προμηθέα διότι έχω πολλά κοινά με τον Προμηθέα. Ευχαριστώ.
Με λένε Νεφέλη Ορκανοπούλου. Μένω στο νέο κόσμο και ασχολούμαι με τον υποτιτλισμό. Συμπάσχω με τον Ύφεστο γιατί είναι ο πιο ανθρώπινος χαρακτήρας.
Καλησπέρα σας. Είμαι η Μαρία
Σαββανίδου, είμαι μαθήτρια του Λυκείου, μένω στο Θησίο και ταυτίζομαι με τον Προμηθέα, διότι δεν το έβαλε κάτω μέχρι το τέλος και στάθηκε ήρωας.
So we will watch a bit more, but before continuing, I would like you to reflect, if you don't do it yet, who, if you would imagine a group of people here in Nicosia, say the southern side, people you know, who would it be? How would it be? What would you say? Or would it be sort of the same people, or is there a difference between the Athenians and the people here?
Can I ask a question before this?
Always. Wait, I come with my phone.
Sorry for interrupting.
You don't interrupt.
So, do the people that they participate know about each other? It's like do they know about each other?
Yeah, ideally, yes. Yeah.
Okay, and did you face any difficulties? I mean, if you have somebody that is perhaps very nationalist and you have an immigrant participating, did you have any issues regarding this?
Ideally, no, but yes.
How do you deal with that?
We tell everybody you are here on a ground where people respect each other. And actually, we spoke with them before. They have made a decision to participate in something like that. You clearly feel that some people don't like some people, and then the standard 100% there's like a dark scene where people only vote with flashlights, and the projection shows the flashlight, so you don't know who says what. And then there's the question, who of us has fallen in love with somebody during the rehearsals? And then there's some lights. Who of us dislikes somebody? 100 likes. You know? Yeah.
Με λένε Βάσο, είμαι ακόμα φοιτήτρια και ελπίζω σύντομα όχι πάλι άνεργη. Μένω ζωγράφου και ταυτίζομαι με τον Προμηθέα γιατί θεωρώ ότι αγωνίστηκε για αυτό που θεωρεί δίκαιο.
Γεια σας, με λένε Μαρίνα, μένω σε Ψηρή, ταυτίζομαι με το χορό και είμαι μαθήτρια Λυκείου.
Καλησπέρα, λέγομαι Γιάννης Αντωνόπουλος, μένω στο Νέο Κόσμο, είμαι οδοντίατρος. Νιώθω κοντά στον Προμηθέα, γιατί πιστεύω πως ό,τι πολύτιμότερο έχει να προσφέρει σήμερα ο πολίτης στην πόλη του είναι η προσωπική του στάση και η ατομική ευθύνη.
Okay, if you want to watch this video, let me know. I'll send you a link with the password. It was filmed by Athens and Berlin, who is a filmmaker, and so apart from this, you can find about 25 different 100% performances fully documented. Only this one is passport protected because she lives from her work, so we will not put it just online without her earning from it. I want to jump to the very end of this so that you get an idea about what these people are saying. I jumped the entire show until let's say the last scene. It's one of my favorite performers. He used to be a guard in the archaeological sites. And he was the one who says, this is a holy place here. You don't fool around with gods. He was very, believes in the old gods, ancient gods, I mean. So this is after a lot of other scenes of dancing and so on. It's a scene in which the people form groups according to yes and no. That means there's always a headline under which they line up, a group, and it's Iman Bagi, the band, playing. Those in the middle always do the right thing. to do another additional thought for you. I will continue, but try to. It's interesting what you see, right? But today I also had a little walk behind the House of Cooperation, and I was looking at this sports field. I also went to the other side to look down from the wall where this beautiful football field is located, and next to the football field is about the same space, empty, unused. So imagine a stage like this there, and a staircase like this. And imagine that it is 100 people that play this game, so to speak, and they go to form these groups. But 50 of those about came from the south, and 50 came from the north. You could also tell me afterwards which statements would be there, or questions would be more interesting than those. These are deriving from the Prometheus text anyways, but I just want you to kind of sneak in this idea that we're talking about. So this is why we're here, to find out if that would be a possibility at this place. Financial crisis, yeah, 2010. We go to hell.
Yes.
You can't hear that the stadium is singing, right? They're all singing. So the idea is, without Prometheus eventually, but to organize a gathering like this, following the demographics as good as we can research them, for both parts of both cities, so to speak, both parts, and then to have a piece like this happening behind the House of Cooperation.
Do you want to ask something about that?
When I wrote to Rimini with a suggestion of building 100% in that Nicosia, if you think about to make it on one side, then you would have to rename it and call it 50%, which has no sense. And when you, Daniel, came started your research, pretty fast you came to the conclusion that it's it's only possible if we do it in the middle. Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and at the moment we are at this state of trying to figure out, because I don't, if that's feasible at all, because it's kind of walking on a sharp line, because there's always failure involved when you make a piece, because you can say it didn't work. So, but if it doesn't work in this very construction, then it can also create, let's say, false narratives that would even then be in the world, which is even worse. So that's why it's really something where I think where everybody, the good thing is perhaps that there will be nobody who participates in this thing, if it so happens, who wouldn't be cautious and really extra attentive, as in what the heck is going on? What are we producing here? What are the others saying? Am I saying the right thing? Am I going too far? Do I hold something back which I should say? It will be an extra attention thing. You wanted to say something, yeah?
Lots of things, but please do. I'm keeping my bullet points anyway, so thank you.
Yeah, but actually, I thought, like I said, there's the idea to try that out a little bit, if we want to have some workshop feeling. I know you hate this idea, and maybe not, but this is what I can say today about this project.
Yeah, do you want to try something with people here, or?
Maybe first questions, comments on that, what we said, so that we can implement that in the decision.
Yeah. And what was your, before people ask their questions, what was your experience so far during these 3 days? Even you know, it hasn't been long for you, yes, but what was your experience? Talking to people and listening to their stories.
Experience one was I was mainly we were mainly entering some viewpoints, or learning about some viewpoints on just yet one side, which is, has to be corrected as soon as possible. And then it was a learning process where in every conversation I really learned some things completely surprising and got something straight. But I'm hesitating now to tell you what I learned, because you know better. Yeah.
Yeah, because still is a work in progress, and
Yeah. One thing that we learned was, as you said, for sure it has to happen in the middle. And for sure it has to be, we have to find out if it's possible to make this a project where people from both sides feel the same responsibility to make it happen. Not financially, but by doing it. That means there must be a casting team that interviews and finds people on the other side that really think this is our show, and not how we're invited by some cultural people from the other side. We should do some find some friends and put that. It has to be really a collaboration. So it's hard to say if it's possible, because it's really about making an alliance with people we don't know yet. We heard they exist, but and for example, there was once the project. It's kind of not it's not done. It's the first steps.
And I like what you said in one of our meetings when you said that it's not about this project's artistic value anymore, because it was like done how many years ago. It's about bringing people together, and it's about these encounters you have with people. So that's what really matters.
Yeah. So it's not. You can't invite 100 people to share or risk that much, and then sell it as your art. That's not fair. This would be, you can facilitate, you can say this is a step in my learning about what theatre can be, but, and it says Rimini has this piece because we sort of compose the text and the structure and how it looks and so on, so that there might be some artistic capabilities we apply. But, and yeah, the people that they performed 100% Hong Kong in 2021, they were chosen to be the actual performer, Hong Kong's performer of the year by the International Critics Association. So they were the stars, not our piece.
Okay, I've got a question for the end, but I think we should open up, to any questions from the audience.
We can have in one of these microphones. Yeah.
Let's leave one with you.
Hello. First of all, thank you for the sharing and all the insights. I'm Naya, by the way, and I have lots of bullet points that I want to point out. I'm going to give space, and I'm not going to share everything. The first thing that I want to start is how can we here do documentary when our funding, the governmental funding, doesn't support the experts. It only supports of getting professional actors and actresses. Because I wanted to I'm doing documentary here, but I cannot do it by national funding because we don't have that.
Yeah, that's shit. So you have to find, perhaps one way is find alliance outside. Allies outside. Make compromises and convince the people in the National Theatre or wherever you want to work that they have to be creative, that they have to be artists as well. I know a bit the game from the National Theatre in Athens. I had friends that they were running the Pyramidiki there for 3 years, so I know have a lot of insight into the paradox situations regarding artists not being allowed to film their own work and all that stuff. When we started in a small theatre eventually, this guy from the theatre said, we have to do this, it's so great, and yeah, I like collective work and so on. But then he also wanted to cut costs, and also he explained to us, look, I cannot do this. You say you are 3 directors, it's impossible, I can give you a contract, and one of you can say who of you is the choreographer, who of you, but I will not sign a contract with 3 directors, impossible. If that starts, I will have 10 directors next year. And then we said, okay, who of us is the choreographer? I mean, yeah, arrange for it. It's in many of these 100% cities, it's also not possible to pay people properly. And by the way, this is important that these people receive as much money as possible, so that, because the most interesting people are those who say, I'm only in it for the money, right? They are not in it for the theatre. They don't care about theatre. They have other reasons. And then perhaps I think support and sponsorship, which in Germany almost doesn't exist because of all that great funding, is stronger here, and you can find an ally that says, I'm making possible, but yeah, it's not possible without convincing people that have money, control of money. But yeah, it's frustrating. But you know, crowdfunding, other ways, ticketing in a way that, yeah, I think if you and the experts want to do it, then the creativity just starts a bit before the script.
Thank you. And another point is that, to answer your question, I think that if 100% was being a reality here, it would be for sure multicultural. And the thing with the buffer zone is that some people cannot come also, so it excludes, unfortunately, some of the people that live here.
State of our research is that through the Turkish gate, anyone could come, no?
Not the Turkish citizens.
They couldn't cross to that side, but they could cross into here. So that's at least that's the assumption, and we will have to speak to both representatives of both communities, and we will have to talk to people from the UN and so. But that was why we decided it has to be in the center, because there's at least a chance. Let's say everybody should have the chance normally to watch football game there happening, and if that is possible, they should have the chance also to go just next to the football field. And maybe, if so, that not everybody can enter. This wall up there where all the bars are, is fantastic, it's the best seats. So we could maybe find also ways around. I'm not sure if everyone who is on the southern side has enough papers to pass that checkpoint, but it's a soft one. If I say, if I come here, I go to Goethe, I never show my passport. And if they say I go to the show, maybe that will be anyway.
I want to share a story, that's why I'm going to leave that.
Maybe I think you're doing a pass for my...
Yeah, okay.
So we can go for it.
So yes, that's the practical issues. I'd like to share a story that it was the first time that I felt proud that I'm Cypriot. It was in the bicommunal pride that happened. This one, I think, I'm talking about the one that happened around 2 years ago. So pride starts from both sides, and they meet here and they sew a rainbow flag, and then there were these two drag queens, a Turkish Cypriot and a Greek Cypriot, and they were singing Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot songs here in the buffer zone. It was the most amazing party I've ever been, and it was the first time, literally, I was like, yeah, proud I'm Cypriot. Because we literally connected, and you could see the world that you're describing. There were these people who could not come, but they light their flashlights, and they were joining us. So we made a connection with them immediately. And you see the UN just at the back. So it was, for me, it was a moment that I'd like to keep going and sharing it with people.
Any other questions? Eleni?
I'm kind of building on that. I'm going to make a bit of a provocative kind of thought on the premise of the buffer zone. I come from the performance design side of things, so I'm kind of hyper receptive of kind of what spaces carry. And because we've experienced the communal pride, I think this space, particular space of the green light and buffer zone, is painted with the people who want reunification. So it could be that this space is not a space for all the people, even if they don't cross the other border. Maybe this space carries too much of the progressive side of Cypriots, of not only Cypriots, but for people of other sort of political identities to exist in this space. I think because we have buffer fringe, I think you've presented work in the past years. I don't know. I'm thinking, is there a space that kind of covers everyone? That's not the buffer zone. Is it I don't know. I mean, I think there's power in holding it here, but I'm also aware that it's not everyone's space.
Yeah, that's exactly why we are a bit hesitative still, and on the one hand we will have to just try to really strongly move forward in order to find that out, and to also find out, okay, what is the last moment that we realize, okay, we found out it's perhaps going in the wrong direction, or too risky, because a lot of people whose voice, presence would be necessary, so that it's a complete picture, not a biased, leftish, romantic reunification thing, which is clearly not supposed to be, to prevent that this would happen. So it's very important that we, I will try to just reach out into, let's say, these fields in society and the communities that are not the, the natural sympathans of stuff like this. And to ask them, if I told you it can't happen without you, otherwise it's biased, would you come? Simple question.
Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts? I think it's not working.
So the little idea that I have, maybe we can also speak afterwards in the news thing. I took some two extra excerpts where I compiled questions from different cities. It's 2 times 2 minutes, I guess. And it's both from the so-called me not me section. That means you answer by going to me or not me. And we would just define that, let's say, because you all want to enter stage at some point in your life, this side is me. And the monitors, the black square, is not me. Yeah, the right direction. And we would, oh no, we're not so many people. We can do it actually this way so that we can all look at the picture also. Where our heart is me, and not me is there. Here's me, there's not me. And so I would activate one of the videos, and we will just listen to the questions of those people from Jakarta, Tokyo, Cork, Melbourne, so I don't know which cities I don't remember, and we will see where we stand. So we will be part-time citizens for always 10 seconds in different cities, okay? Traveling around the world. And yeah, and after 3 weeks, after 3 weeks we speak again. We will come together and re-traumatize and just decide if we do a second round or if we do an open microphone where we ask what we want to ask. It's also part of almost every show. All right, so let me find the video. So let's not do physical exercises, let's just come. Please all come. So the first question is actually a question that was asked in the city of Penang, which is also known as Georgetown, Malaysia. On that island, Malaysia shares with Singapore. And it's not permitted to show, like to hold hands or to kiss each other from there. Either the question would make less sense. But now you are citizens of Malaysia for a moment.
To be legalized.
I'm sorry, who wants kissing in public to be legalized? Legalized. Who wants, if you want that kissing in public is legal, you come here. And you can see, yeah, me is that side where we are.
I do not. All the mushy-mushy in public is to me. Keep that in private. Siapa yang fikir pelacuran harus dibenarkan?
Prostitution to be legalized. So if you are against legal prostitution, you go there. Let's go together.
有邊個曾經經歷過性騷擾？
Yes, have you experienced sexual harassment? And you will go to yes.
Quem se identifica como homossexual?
Who identifies as non-hetero? Who identifies as homosexual? This is in Sao Paulo.
Quem tem animal de estimação?
Who of you has a pet? Then go to yes. You can make the noise of the pet.
Kein con carne.
Who eats meat? Press. Ποιος τρώει press? Ποιος τρώει ψάρι? This is my favorite one because this is in Tokyo. And one person says no.
前通ると、うつろの目をした魚、あれが食べられますか?
So that was the first round. So we get into the bones a bit, right? Shall we do another round?
Yes.
Okay. There's a total 10 of these videos. I just downloaded 2. So here's another 2 minutes.
Wer ist für ein Zürich ohne Auto?
Who wants that there's no cars driving in Zurich? Yeah, you're against, well, no option. Then you can go like... Who drives the car? You all drive cars. That was in Copenhagen. Spends more money. Saves more money than they spend.
Hvem mener ligesom mig, at det kongelige teater ikke skal finansieres af skattekroner?
Who thinks that there should be no tax money used for this piece in which we are performing? And he is in favor. He doesn't like that tax money is given to him.
Who has dreamt or is dreaming of possessing their own home?
This is in Melbourne. That's the Queen.
Who owns more than one house?
Apparently in Melbourne this is a question.
Who is in favor of tax money being spent on public housing?
Who is afraid of the future?
So, we were guests in some cities, but now we're here again. And I would like to know what are questions that you want to ask. Doesn't have to be tough stuff. Sasha, what question?
Are you allowed basketball? If yes, go there.
Those who like basketball are here. Those who dislike basketball are there.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Next question. Give, you can decide who should ask a question. Just give the microphone to somebody. Just choose the person that should ask. What? Yeah? Okay.
Who likes Taylor Swift?
Here is no, by the way.
Interesting.
I heard there's so many Swifties.
Who likes Trump?
remembers their first kiss.
Who likes living here in Cyprus?
You're in the middle, Sasha?
No.
Oh, I see a family on hold.
Who spends more than, let's say, 5 hours a week in traffic jam?
Traffic jam. 5 hours of traffic jam every week.
Who believes that we're going to have a solution on the Cyprus problem? Not wanting a solution. Do you believe that it's going to be a solution?
Good solution.
Yes, we're going to have any kind of solution.
Anything.
Not the situation to remain as it is. I mean, have a settlement, yes.
We should have a stop.
Yes. Yes. Are you single? It's complicated. Thank you, Maria. Who would cross easily the line? Easily, like an everyday process, just like that, without extra thoughts. Without things being complicated. Or without things hurting you. That's what I meant, actually.
Who crosses without things hurting?
No, what I meant is that.
Yeah, it's the second question.
Okay, that's what I meant, however. That's what I wanted to be precise.
So the final question is, who crosses the border without sort of being hurt emotionally, without things hurting? Just
Easily, without thoughts.
That question here. That's it's every day, it's the agony that just
I don't agree with your question.
Okay, try another question.
In a way that...
It's a laboratory. Let's try out.
Yeah, in a way that...
I don't know. It's like you are asking something that you want the answer to be in favor of what you are asking. It's like this is what I feel.
So we are welcome to the it's complicated.
Yes, it's complicated.
Something that for me it's hard.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yes,
that
it's personal.
blind and great across the line. You're not
Yes.
Yeah, but for instance, the chief guy does not understand
No,
that we are
so
talking about.
they don't have a problem.
Yeah. They don't have.
I'm not asking why.
Do you have feelings?
Because that would make it complicated.
The question is has no sense.
For me it's important.
Yes, but not for the children. Something that.
So they will
I
not
know.
know.
Those people might be able to it's difficult. This is about because CITF not cross. That's why I'm asking this question, not asking your background or why or.
So do you have feelings or not?
It's difficult.
And then children might say, no, I don't have feelings. What are you talking about? And that's what I can see. Or I might see a child that says I have feelings. And then I think, okay, maybe the story in their family is very more present than the others. I understood the question, that's all.
For us, in the last case has a meaning.
No. Yeah. So that's what can happen in the display. And then the question is, okay, what does it mean? But first it's just a display. So it's not a judgment or whatever, it's just who of us feels who doesn't. May I ask, who of you thinks that if we were doing this piece over there, we could ask a question like that at all? If it was 50 people from both sides, who thinks that 100 people could accept this question? Accept the question. I give you an example. I was doing this thing in the very easy city, Braunschweig. And there was one participant, she was a woman with Turkish parents. And in that one, Braunschweig, it was a city theater, and naked nudity and German theater is standard. Like when you do Macbeth, you're really happy when everybody has something on. I saw Macbeth with only naked men. They were all naked from the beginning. Only men, all naked, no pants. So nudity is sort of standard. Yeah, so I can go into details now. And then, that's why I thought it's super funny, and there was also a lot of participants were in Japan. I thought it was super funny when we asked the question, who of us wants to, show their popo to the audience? So 7 people ran to the stage and then put their trousers on. We found that very funny. And then I heard from an assistant of the production that the lady who had Turkish parents said to the assistant, you can have my free tickets, give them to somebody else. She fortunately told that to me. I went to her and said, is it because of this nudity thing? And she said, fortunately, she said, yes. So I said, the nudity thing is out. Why? Because I found it more important that the parents of her, for the first time in their 30 years of life in Braunschweig, come into the theater than just a joke about naked asses. So what I mean is, this piece will be limited by the feelings of everyone. And of course we can discuss details like, okay, why is it, can we formulate it in a way that you also can accept it? Do we have to write the question better? And also to explain, this is just about who has feelings. It doesn't mean that the feelings have a meaning, blah, blah, blah. But if, my question to you, but maybe that's so complicated, the question. So I was asking myself, I will ask very often myself, where are the limits? If 100 people come together.
I feel that something could have its energy, perhaps,
Yeah,
to come to terms with these kind of questions if we are about to make such and collaborate towards this kind of project. These are questions that should be addressed, right?
What you said, otherwise it's going to be romantically, have the sense that it's not representing the whole.
It's possible that we have to say, but not you or the participants of this piece. We will learn it from them. I will not decide. But it's possible that we will have to do in a prologue to say there are things that we would like to discuss, but when we are all together, it's too complicated. We can do that in smaller groups. It's possible, because I made the experience that 20 people said to me, if you ask who here is homosexual, we will be gone. That was in the Polish city. Because the fact that there's homosexuality in the world, in the city where the Pope was born, was absolutely unacceptable for 20%. Do I want these people on stage? Because otherwise the picture is not complete. Okay, then I have to have them in. And I have to sort of mark that questions around homosexuality for this reason are not okay. for the entity of the entire city. In fact, if you walk with something pink in Krakow,
then things are not properly represented.
exactly. No.
So something is lost from the whole picture.
Yeah, you can't.
I know it's
exactly.
hard.
Exactly. It's super hard, but it's a piece where 100 people come together to represent kind of the average. The extremes sort of have to start respecting. This is exactly that's it's really hard. So we're in the core part of this. Who still likes the idea of this project? Here's yes, here's no.
Just keep. That's okay. Yeah, question. Can also keep us later.
Now I'm a bit stuck. Yes, perhaps.
Who had a member of the family going through a serious illness? Who had a member of their family going through a serious illness?
Like close on your
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Elena?
Ask a question.
Still producing humans.
Wow, that's fine. Who thinks designers should run the government? Didn't say artists, designer.
What kind of design? Why not?
People who study design.